What is up, you plebs? YourTotalWarMaster, and this is the start of a new series that I'll be making. It is going to be a review and guide for every Medieval 2 Total War faction. We can have 5 main topics that we'll be talking about. The first one is going to be real life. I'll give you some historical background on the faction. Then we're gonna move on to army roster. Then we're gonna go to normal campaign review. Then we're going to go to a hot seating campaign review. And then as number 5, I'm gonna do some ratings. 3 things I'll be rating. The first one is going to be faction rating from F to A, or A plus, whatever, how cool it is, basically. That's about that. Then we're gonna have campaign difficulty rating from very easy to very hard, and hot seat rating difficulty. We're also going to go from very easy to very hard. Today our first faction, of course, is England. So let's go into the review. Okay, so England, of course, was a real faction in 1080, which is not the case for every faction in Medieval 2. It was led by William I, also known as William the Conqueror or William the Bastard, and was succeeded by William II in 1087. There were some rebel fightings going on, or uprisings, which William has managed to pacify. There were a few cathedrals starting to get built, like the Ely Cathedral or the Worcester Cathedral, and basically it seems like it was a good time. There was some fighting against the Welsh, but basically England was doing pretty well at the time, I feel like. From what I read, I've done some research, so nothing really too special. They were fighting the enemies around them, they were having some revolts that they have to deal with, so it was a pretty strong faction. William I was their leader. So, I feel like England's roster was one that kinda got the most attention, or at least one of the ones that had the most attention given to them. We of course start with some, basic units as peasants, town militia, left spearmen. They do have a bit of a different picture over here, but I think they're pretty much the same units as if I were to take a look at, for example, France. We have town militia. Now, levy spearmen are a bit different. You don't see them as often because you see town militia is common. Levy spearmen, they're a bit different. Their attack is 70, 18, 11, and 3. They're a bit better than the town militia, but nothing special. Spear militia, again, just some basic spear units. Armored sergeants are the ones that are actually starting to get really good. 11, 17, and 5. If you compare to this, 7, 11, and 3, they're kind of getting really good. They're basically 11, 17, 15, which means that over here they're basically the same as the French ones or any other ones. So, spear units, pretty much basic. We have some bill units who are, I think, pretty much exclusive to England, if I'm not mistaken. There's some folk militia. Basically, billmen are kind of the thing for England. I don't use them that much, although they are very good in auto resolve. We have some heavy infantry over here, pretty standard stuff. Now, where England shines is their archer units. Of course, probably the best ones are retinue longbowmen. Number longbowmen also pretty good. The archers really good. Now, Sherwood archers are like, I don't know how to use them properly, because okay, they do have 2 hit points, right? But they just fire less shots because there's only half of them. So I'm not the biggest fan of them, but maybe in some niche scenarios it could be extremely good. Their cavalry is decent. It's nothing special. They are lacking some ranged cavalry units, which it's a bit of a shame, and their artillery is pretty basic. Now let's see what the game actually has to say about them. Both superb longbowmen and strong infantry, fields a poor variety of cavalry. Well, this is pretty much what I would agree with. Their archers are probably the best, at least from the Western factions or Catholic factions. They're probably the best. But as said, they do have cavalry, but they're all pretty much just, light cav, medium cav, I guess, and really heavy cav. They don't have any ranged cav. They don't have any cavalry units that would, suit any other purpose. So, their roster is pretty fun, but it's kind of vanilla with us. There's nothing special about them. Of course, their archers are really good, but there's no such thing that would make you go wow about them. But still, pretty solid. Looking at their single-player campaign start, I think it is really, you know, if you are new to the Total War, to Medieval 2, you should probably play England. It is relatively safe with this Isle. The Scottish should not be too big of a problem. Now, Caen, of course, could be at risk if France does attack you, but still, I feel like you should be able to kind of fend them off. Now, what I would suggest you doing in a single-player campaign, if you are at least of a decent skill, you can probably duel both Scotland and both France at the start. In Caen, you can get some decent units. Mailed Knights are like a very stable, a very good cavalry unit, nothing wrong with them. Over here in Nottingham, you can also get them. You know, Hoblars, they're not really worth it. Bowyer, it's good because archers are pretty strong in the game, especially if you know how to exploit the AI. So basically, after you take all over the British Isles and maybe half of northern France, then you can continue pushing down to get the rest of the French territory, or if you feel like you want to give Vikings, you know, no U card, you can invade Denmark over here, also go up there to Oslo, well, if you get a big fleet. But I think the first step you should always do as England is to get all the British Isles under your control, and over here versus France, do as much as possible. If you're a new player, maybe you just leave Caen, bring all your forces back up. Maybe you can like get all these guys, bring them up there to Dublin or to Caernarvon, get that done. The French will take Caen, but no worries. Once you will be back, you'll have all the British Isles, and then they'll just crumble. So I think, yeah, this is basically the strategy you should always do with England. Now let's check what we can do in the multiplayer or the Hotseat campaign. Now in the multiplayer / Hotseat campaign, things do get a bit harder for you. Every Scottish player will probably seek an alliance with France, and France will also probably want to get an alliance with either you or Scotland. If he will be at war with HRE and potentially Portugal and maybe Milan as well, he will definitely want to have you on your side. But if he will not fight them, then he's gonna seek an alliance with Scotland versus you. Now the problem in Hotseats is that England can get basically sandwiched by a very strong faction and a pretty weak faction. And you know, diplomacy is going to be the key. If you get sandwiched by both, you can get destroyed in 5 turns. But if you get some diplomacy going on, or you get lucky, then you basically have a very good position. The start is difficult because you need to get good diplomacy, basically. But now, what I would suggest is try your best to get a deal with France, and then attack Scotland. Scotland almost never has a chance against England, except if it's a big gap in skill, or if it's like really unlucky for Scotland or whatever. In Auto Resolve, even less. In Auto Resolve, Scotland has no chance, because England just outproduces him. As you can see, Scotland starts with 1, England starts with 3 settlements. And even if there was a deal between France and England that England donates Caen to France for peace, for like, I don't know, a 5 or 10 turn peace, still England just outproduces them. It's just impossible to win. Now in Manual Resolve, it is a bit better for Scotland, so it's going to be a bit harder for you as England, but still, you should have Scottish number any day of the week, basically. So my suggestion is get a deal with France, kill Scotland, and then assess from that. If France is doing bad, like getting hampered by HRE and other stuff, you know, just swoop in for the kill. If you want to keep them as allies, then you can always sail across this sea, I don't know how it's called, go to Denmark, or maybe, you know, if you get a deal that he leads to Antwerp, you can get to Antwerp and then maybe assist him versus the HRE. That is basically what I would do as England. But again, I think for every English campaign, no matter what type of a campaign, is it single player, is it Hotseat, whatever, get the British Isles under control as soon as possible, and then everything will be much easier for you. And here are my ratings. I would give them a B rating for their faction, so basically how cool they are, how unique they are. You know, they're not that unique to be honest, but they still have some cool units. They differ enough from the rest of the Western units that I do feel that they could get a B rating. Single player difficulty, I think they're one of the easiest, if not the easiest, difficult factions, so I'm giving them a very easy rating. And in hot seat difficulty, I'm giving them medium, because you do need to have some diplomatic skill to, you know, basically get done. You can easily get basically gangbanged by France and Scotland. If that happens, you're gonna be in some trouble, but if you avoid France, and then I think you're basically on a good route to have a good hot seat. And this is it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. In the background you can see my past and current Patreons. Massive thanks to them for supporting me. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of video. If you know it gets decent views, I will probably continue doing it because I enjoy doing it. It's kind of fun, and hopefully you guys can learn something from it as well. I'm not sure how well I did historically wise. I need to maybe find a better way of doing it. I'm not the most happy how I did it. It was like a bit too quick, maybe a bit too fast, maybe just too shallow. I'll think about that, but I think other parts turned out pretty well. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. As I said, make sure to join me on Discord, on Facebook. You can support me on Patreon. Come to Discord, we can play some hot seats. And yeah, till next time, fuck off.